to lose a derby is one thing, but to not even make Manchester City work for it, that's something else, and that is completely unforgivable. It's not been a very good start, and if it carries on, he's going to go. He might miss out on a payout if he walks, but he also might miss out on potential other jobs if he carries on, because his reputation is just getting hammered. If you keep losing football matches as Manchester United manager, you're going to get sacked. And he's lost a lot.
Hello, I'm Angelina Kelly, here to bring you the latest news via the talkSPORT YouTube channel. And we have to talk about the Manchester derby as Manchester City claim victory at the Etihad over rivals Manchester United with a 3-0 win, thanks to a Phil Foden header and Erling Haaland brace. For the Blues, it was a big win, especially for the manager Pep Guardiola. Meanwhile, for Manchester United, it seems like things are getting worse and worse under their manager Ruben Amorim. So in order to digest this awful loss for the Red Devils, I am a Man United fan myself, so I have called in Stretford Paddock's Jay Motty to get into this. Jay, thank you so much for joining me. First up, I just wanted to get your initial reaction to that Manchester derby loss.
It hurts, it does. Like, obviously, you hate losing a Manchester derby, and that one was particularly annoying because I felt like City were there for the taking. But the strange thing is, it's like, even though it hurts and it's deflating and annoying and all the rest of it, you kind of getting immune to it a little bit. You kind of just like, yeah, we're here again. Yeah, United aren't great again. Yeah, United haven't turned up. Yeah, we've still got issues with whoever, you know, pick a player out of a hat. You can almost name all of them, can't you? It seems there's only one or two, I think, who actually emerged with any credit from the Etihad. So it is a little bit, it is a little bit deflating and annoying. But what's worrying is the fact that not just myself, but other United fans that I've spoken to, yes, there's the anger and there's the frustration, but many United fans are like, yeah, you know, you can almost see it coming now. You can almost feel that this team just isn't really going places. And it's a shame that, because I go back to a few games ago, what seems like a lifetime ago, but to the Arsenal game, where despite the fact we lost, you could see positive signs. I thought we played very well. You could see, okay, and Bumo's come in and Cunha's come in. Sorry, I know he didn't play us today, but they looked lively. They looked like they were, you know, players that are going to cause problems and do well for Manchester United. There's sort of a sense of optimism there. And it's just been sort of chipped away at. And every time United seem like we're taking a little step forward, as in the Burnley game, following what was an horrendous result against Grimsby, then you've got an opportunity against the Manchester City side that have lost 2 out of 3. And you just don't take it. And I'll be honest with you, and this might come across as bitter or whatever, but I don't even think that City were particularly great. I think they took the chances. I think they showed the quality they've got. But for big chunks of that game, I don't think City got out of second gear. And that's just unacceptable from Manchester United's point of view. To lose a derby is one thing, but to not even make Manchester City work for it, that's something else, and that is completely unforgivable.
No, I completely agree with you. I don't think City looked amazing. I also get that feeling of kind of being numb to it. You know, people are coming up to me saying, oh, what did you think? It was an awful game. And I'm sort of like, yeah, it is awful. You know, that kind of thing. It's the norm now, isn't it? But what did you make of the post-match comments from Ruben Amorim and Bruno Fernandes?
I mean, they're both emotional guys, aren't they? They both wear their heart on the sleeve, and they're going to tell you exactly what's on their mind. Bruno, we've been here before, and I know Bruno does come in for a lot of stick, and he's been getting a lot of stick recently. I don't know how much of that is his fault, because I don't think he's being played in his best position. I don't think that helps. I mean, granted, a player of Bruno's quality should still be able to play in midfield. I don't think you're not asking him to play in goal. It's not like you're asking him to do something that is completely alien to him. And also, I don't think that excuses everything we see from Bruno with certain passes that are simple he doesn't make or whatever. But I at least have a little bit of sympathy for him. The trouble with Amorim, and I don't often say this about a Manchester United manager, is sometimes I feel like he just needs to take a step back, especially post-match, because we saw it after the Grimsby game where I understand how gutted he was. I understand how annoyed he was. But then the following press conference, he sort of came out with all these things, didn't he, after the match? And then the following press conference, he's sort of saying, well, you know, sometimes I say I hate my players, sometimes I say I hate my kids. I don't know why he did that. But you're thinking, just maybe slow down. I don't know why your kids are catching strays. Just like slow down a little bit. And there was an element of that yesterday after the derby where you can see he's emotional, you can see he's annoyed. And that worries me a little bit because, yes, that's his sort of the way he is, and a manager's always going to be the way they are. But I notice a little bit of an edge creeping in with Amorim. And I've seen this before with managers. Amorim's always been quite light-hearted, quite jovial, quite relaxed. Now, I don't expect him to come on the, in an interview after the match, a Manchester derby when we've just lost, and sort of be laughing and joking and cheering and everything. But when he's getting asked certain questions, when he was getting asked a question about Bruno Fernandes, for example, he did sort of like he had a little bit of an edge to him. He seemed slightly annoyed, and that's creeping in. And it might just only be once or twice that we're seeing that. But it does seem that it is getting to him a little bit. It is. The questions are getting to him a little bit. Maybe the response from the players is getting to him a little bit. The results, he's mentioned the results. They're obviously getting to him. These records that he's accumulating. What is it? 27% wins or something in the Premier League.
Yeah, 25.8% win record.
See, I've done it. I've done him a favour.
You've helped him out there.
I've upped it up by 1.2% or whatever it was. So that's not great. Worst start in 30 odd years. Not great. Lowest amount of points I think from any team that's been in the Premier League since the entire time since Ruben Amorim's been here. I mean, these are horrible stats. They really are. So I think you'd have to be almost idiotic not to let it get to you. And he's not an idiot. I'm not saying he is at all. So it does worry me a little bit when you're seeing these comments from the manager. But then again, do we expect him to come out and say, yeah, this is mint, everything's great? It's just a troubling time for the manager. And I look at these fixtures coming up, and I think we've got to see a response from these players, because sooner or later, the board, Ineos, whoever, are going to start asking real questions.
Do you think there's ever a chance that he could walk?
Yes. I've said this after the Grimsby game. He seems like a guy who, if this continues in terms of the results, if the players aren't responding to him, if he gets to a place where he can move this team or club
and he's
forward,
done everything that he thinks he can do,
I could see him walking. Now, people go, what about the payout he'll miss out on if he walks?
He's not bothered about that, I don't think.
There's also he doesn't seem he is. He mentioned that, didn't he? He said he mentioned that he won't take a payout, but because he spoke about walking in the past. We spoke to one of a player from, I think his first team he managed, and he told them, I think in a team talk, if we lose today, I'm going to quit. This was early doors in his third game or something, and they believed him. They said we believed that he was telling the truth. He wasn't just bluster. This guy was ready to go. And I think we've seen it after the Grimsby game. We've seen it one or two other times last season. He mentioned that he'd threatened to walk, or he'd offered to walk last season. I think he sort of alluded to that. So I could see it happening, and I hope it doesn't. Obviously, I want him to succeed. I like him. I like him as a person. I get what he's trying to do, even though it's not really working. But I think of all the United managers we've had post-Alex Ferguson, he's the one that seems the most likely to walk away. All the others got sacked, really, didn't they? It wasn't, even the mutual, if it's mutual ever, it was a sacking. But I think with Ruben Amorim, he could well. And I think you got to remember as well, for the greater good of his reputation, he might miss out on a payout if he walks, but he also might miss out on potential other jobs if he carries on, because his reputation is just getting hammered. He's gone from being one of the best young managers in the world, who most teams would have had as their manager, had their current manager left.
He was linked to City, wasn't he?
He was linked to Manchester City, and I don't think that would have been the most ludicrous idea had Pep left and Ruben Amorim came in after winning, loads of trophies at Sporting. Whereas now, once he leaves Manchester United, I mean, we saw it with Eric Ten Hag at Bayer Leverkusen. I know that was a ridiculous situation because he was sacked after, 2 or 3 league games, whatever it was. I mean, that was just preposterous. But if Ruben Amorim carries on, his reputation is going to take a beating, and he's going to have to sort of go to a lower division or a lower league or whatever and try and rebuild his reputation. And the longer it sort of goes on, the worse it's going to get for him.
Yeah, you know what? You make a really good point there, because it's not like he's going to be welcomed into a side that's going to be competing for Champions League finals. If he wants to get to that next level, staying at United wouldn't bring him that. You mentioned the board. He has their backing. How much time do you think he has? I don't think I can see him going before Christmas. But you mentioned the fixtures. We've got Chelsea, Brentford, Sunderland, Liverpool, Brighton. If they don't come out with at least results from Brighton, Sunderland, Brentford, maybe put Chelsea and Liverpool to the side. If those other games don't go to plan, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm being influenced by, other fans of other clubs that give me stick, but I'm starting to worry if Ineos, Sir Jim and co will get sour with him.
Yeah, I look at that Liverpool game as being a big one in terms of, if he goes into that game on the back of some good results, he'll be fine. no one's going to expect him to go to Anfield and win. However, if he says if he gets beat off Chelsea, or if we, I say he, like we're not part of it. If United, if we, I've not stopped being a United fan just because we lost to City, by the way. Let's not be melodramatic. If we lose to, let's say we lose to Chelsea, we draw with Sunderland, or we lose at Brentford, and he goes into that Liverpool game having taken, 1 point or whatever from his last 3 games, and there's real pressure, and then you were to lose at Anfield and lose badly, that might be that. And I know that sounds a little bit sort of harsh, but how long is it going to go on? You can almost see the images, can't you, of Sir Jim Ratcliffe sat in the Anfield crowd or whatever, or in the exec box, not like he stood in the stands, but with his face looking fuming. And you think the pressure's going to mount. And also, if you are going to bring in a new manager, then do you bring someone in when you've got a run of favourable fixtures? I always go back to the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer appointment of when Jose got sacked and Ole came in, and we had those fixtures, didn't we, that looked quite kind. And Ole, to be fair, smashed it as caretaker. It sort of went out the window a little bit when he was made permanent. But they might look at it and go, if we are going to bring someone in, these are the run of fixtures. I think, is it post-Liverpool when it's a little bit better? So I don't like talking like this. I don't like sort of questioning the manager or talking about the manager leaving. But you have to be honest. And I know it's the most obvious thing anyone is ever going to say to you, Ange. But if you keep losing football matches as Manchester United manager, you're going to get sacked. And he's lost a lot. He's lost a lot since he took over. And I've sort of said to it on the channel, I've said it before, I almost give him a pass for that first season. It wasn't his full season. He didn't have a pre-season. He didn't have the signings he wanted. Like, let's just forget it. But we've started off this season, 4 games in, 2 losses already. Admittedly to good teams. He's not lost to rubbish. But also that Grimsby loss too. I'm talking about the Premier League, the 2 losses. The Grimsby loss as well. It's not been a very good start. And if it carries on, he's going to go.
For me, it's who would you bring in? Because we're getting back on that carousel of hire and fire over and over, going round and round. For me, I guess you've got to look at the system. Everyone's harping on about it. Some players don't 100% fit into the system, but they are used to it at this point, I guess. So do you bring someone in with the same system? I mean, we see Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace with a similar system. And, there are also people saying that, nobody's bigger than the club, no system is bigger than the club. But for you, is it the players, is it the system, or is it both?
I think to a certain degree it's a mixture of both. Look, I'm not buying that a midfielder can't make a 10-yard pass because he's in a wrong system. I'm not buying that a defender can't track his man because he's in the wrong system, or a midfielder can't track his man because he's in the wrong system, or a goalkeeper can't save deal with a cross because he's in the wrong system. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. As a top-level footballer, you can play in a different system and still do the basics. There's no excusing some of the goals Manchester United are conceding because it's so basic. It really is. And you look in, you go, that ain't good enough. Like, if I go and watch my lad who's 10 years old and he's not tracking his man, his coach will have a word with him. Like, that's not just a system problem. That's players not doing the job. However, the issue you've got with this system is, does it help players? Is it getting the best out of players? The obvious one is Bruno Fernandes. We've mentioned him before. Is he fitting into the system well? Are we getting the most out of Bruno? Probably not. Okay, then, is the 2-man midfield in this system working? Are we getting overrun at times in midfield? Now, the manager pushed back. I think he was asked about this. I think it might have been James Ducker from The Telegraph asked him about the midfield and Bruno in midfield. And he was pushing back on that when he was saying, well, look at Arsenal. When we played Arsenal, we were up against Zubimendi, we were up against Declan Rice, we were up against Martin Odegaard, and the midfield I thought worked. However, we've had lots of games where the midfield has looked like a bit of a problem. So, in terms of that, are we getting the best out of players? No. However, should the players have to take better responsibility for some basic mistakes? Of course they should. You can't tell me you're not defending properly because you're in a back 3, or as a midfielder you're not tracking your man or whatever because you haven't got another midfielder alongside you. That's just basic stuff, man. It really is. So I understand why Ruben Amorim's getting frustrated with some of these questions, because he must be looking at it going, you can blame the system all you want, but if players aren't doing the most obvious of things, then that's not a system problem. That's a player problem.
I completely agree. And finally, try and get a little bit of positivity in there. We've spent a lot of money on new players. Benjamin Šeško, still need to wait on him. But Matheus Cunha looked good. It's nice to see the resurgence of Mason Mount. He's the only player that when Ruben Amorim came in, we said, he's the one player who can play in this system. Brian Mbeumo's looked good. So, yeah, there have been some positives overall.
Yeah, Brian Mbeumo for me has done very well. I know he had a dip I do. I mean, all I'll ever want, sort of the bare minimum I'll ever want, not all I'll want, but the bare minimum you want from Manchester United players' effort, and he's got that in abundance. You see, he runs his heart out. Go back to that Arsenal game. He ran himself into the ground. He was absolutely goosed by the end of it because he was just non-stop. We saw it at the Etihad as well. He never gave up. He kept going. He was very unlucky not to get on the score sheet. It's a fantastic save from Gianluigi Donnarumma, which I think almost any other keeper on the world, that's a goal. That shows the quality that Donnarumma's got. So Mbeumo has looked good. He's looked positive. He's looked full of energy. He looks like he wants to be at Manchester United, which we've had signings in the past. Angel Di Maria, who looked like they didn't. Cunha, very entertaining. Typical what I'd consider a typical Manchester United player, although it might not be typical right now, but wants to take on his man, wants to beat the defender, wants the ball, has a bit of an edge to him as well, doesn't get bullied. He's very entertaining, very direct. I like what I've seen so far, and it was a shame he wasn't available at the Etihad. And Sesko, it's far too early to tell. You see glimpses, you see signs, you can see his touch is good, he's direct, he wants the ball, he wants to try and get goals. He just needs a bit better service, because otherwise it becomes almost pointless. If you're buying a striker who thrives off crosses, who thrives off through balls, and you're not providing him with them, then you may as well not have a striker. So it's too early to tell with Sesko. Yes, though, I've been impressed with Mbeumo and Cunha. And in terms of Mason Mount, yeah, I have liked what I've seen from Mason Mount this season, but we're still in the same problem. The biggest game of the season, he's not available because he's injured. Last season at the Etihad, I'm not trying to dig him out. It's not his fault. He got injured after 5 minutes, I think it was. So Mason Mount just needs to stay fit, and there's nothing he can do. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. That's not a Mason Mount sort of problem where you go, come on, Mason, fix up, stop getting injured. It's obviously he's not doing it deliberately. It's just, if he is going to play a part in Ruben Amorim's team and help us get success, then he just needs to stay fit, because the Arsenal, Fulham, and that first half against Burnley, he did play well, but then he's injured. I think he was injured in the first half for Burnley. I think he was carrying a knock for a big chunk of that first half. And then obviously he's not been available at the Etihad. So I just hope we can get Mason Mount fit and get him playing, because, as you mentioned, he has done well when he has played.
Well, there you have it, Jay. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, this video is in association with our own bookie, talkSPORT Bet. Download the app or head to talksportbet.com if you want to get involved. 18+, T's and C's apply. BeGambleAware.org.